It is 7:01 and we want to respect your time. So thank you all for coming this evening and participating in this webinar on learning how to help your parents make the best possible choices now and in the future. My name is Ellen Waldorf, and I'll in a moment introduce everybody else who's here. I just want to highlight a few things for you on the webinar. There is at the bottom of your screen a Q&A box. If you wish to send a question, please do. You can either do it anonymously if you prefer, or not. There's also a chat function if you want to send a message that way. And lastly, if you are having any technical difficulties, please feel free to call the number 617-206-4885, and we will try and figure out some logistics for you. So again, thank you for coming. My name is Ellen Waldorf. I'm one of our 6 panelists, one of whom I'm hiding, and you'll see in a moment. I'm the mediator in the group. I help families have discussions about difficult issues, including how do you incorporate the information that all these other professionals are going to share with you this evening. So let me move back and let everybody introduce themselves.
Good evening. My name is Paul Collard. I'm a long-term care consultant with New York Life. My job is to educate you about the funding mechanisms of an extended healthcare event.
My name is Mary Jean Hunt, and I am also with New York Life. I am licensed to sell long-term care insurance, as well as life insurance and investments.
I'm Wendy Adlerstein. I work at First Light Home Care, located in Needham. I am a social worker, and I oversee all of the care provided through First Light.
My name is Lisa Burke. My company is Step with Care. I work with families who are considering senior residential communities like independent living, assisted living, skilled nursing facilities, helping with some of the planning and guidance that families need in these situations.
I'm attorney Deborah Danger. I do estate planning, elder care planning, guardianship, conservatorship, and I pretty much focus my practice on protection of assets.
Okay. So terrific. While just to start us off, while I go deal with some technical issues, we're going to share a case study and talk a little bit about some typical issues for clients that we work with.
So here's a case study. Joe and Dorothy are in their early 80s. They live in Needham in a house they've been in for 30 years. They have 3 grown children, a daughter in Connecticut, a son in Indiana, and another son in Maine. Dorothy is showing signs of cognitive impairment, repeating the same question over and over again and telling the same story again and again. Joe is very sharp mentally, but has fallen several times over the past few months, most recently resulting in a broken foot. They like where they live, but it's isolating, and Dorothy worries that if Joe falls again, she won't be able to get him off the floor without help. Joe worries that if he's hospitalized from a fall, Dorothy won't remember to take her medication or will go off to a store and forget the route home. Their children are busy with jobs, spouses, and children of their own and are not able to assist Joe and Dorothy as much as they would like. What we'd like to do now is give you a sense of the different types of questions that come up in this type of situation and how the professionals in our group can address these. So I'm going to back up and start with a question directed for Wendy. What if this family has someone come in to help them? What help do they need and what help is available?
Hi, everyone. So this couple that was described in the case sounds like being alone is challenging for both of them based on their cognitive impairments and the fall risk. It seems like having someone else in the home could really help them be safe and meet a lot of the needs that are missing from the situation. So with home care, there is an opportunity to have a caregiver come into the house who could do a myriad of things to assist the couple. with the cognitive impairment issues, a lot of times that brings on forgetting to take medications and sort of disorientation. So having a caregiver in the home could really address those issues. Somebody could remind the person to take their meds and be with them to make sure that they're not going to wander off or get lost. In terms of the person in the scenario that's a fall risk, the caregiver could be with them when they're walking, whether they're right next to them or reminding the person to use a walker or an assistive device. The caregivers are all trained to do this type of supervision. So bringing somebody into the home could be a real relief to be able to address these safety issues. And there's other things they can do around the house as well. They can always assist with laundry, grocery shopping, taking people out to doctor's appointments, and being there in case something happens at the house, someone who can really take charge and address any emergencies. So that's a general overview of home care and how it could help this situation. And I know we'll be offering an opportunity for questions specifically, but I'm gonna move on to the next question.
Okay, thank you. Often in these situations, and in this case as well, one of the children is now asking about a will or a trust, power of attorney, and a healthcare proxy. Joe and Dorothy aren't sure what they have and what they need. So, Deborah, can you address some of those
You got it, babe.
important documents?
Okay, so I'm actually working with this fictional couple, and I will say that where does their daughter live?
Connecticut.
In Connecticut. And so so the first time she came up to visit, we focused on the documents having to do with incapacity, because Dorothy didn't have capacity, wasn't able to make decisions for Joe, and Joe was also impaired. So we set them up with powers of attorney, healthcare proxy, naming the daughter and then the successive children. And that gave everyone a peace of mind, because then the daughter was able to open a long-term care claim. She was able to transfer their assets. She's working to sell their house. So once she got that all hooked up, then I met with her this past weekend to talk about a will, a trust, and even an irrevocable trust to do some asset protection planning, so that right now they really want to get the people stabilized. They're not so much worried about avoiding probate or even estate taxes, but that will be coming. And so as long as they keep in touch with them, I feel like we'll put together a good plan that matches the level of crisis in the situation.
Thank you. And at any time, if anyone who is participating in the webinar has a question, please type right up. If not, I'll continue and address a question to Paul and Mary Jane. The older son in this situation is getting worried about his own mental health and concerns about dementia, because if his mother is showing signs of dementia, does that mean he might get dementia? And should he have long-term care insurance so his wife isn't burdened with the cost of caring for him later? There are a lot of questions around affordability, availability of long-term care. Can one of you address those?
Yeah, you bet. We're actually the funding solution of all the care that will be needed as you age. There are many different ways, funding options. There's traditional long-term care insurance. Sometimes it's unaffordable, but many times it's also very affordable if you don't want to fund the entire thing. So you can self-insure. You can use traditional long-term care insurance. You could get a hybrid policy that combines life insurance with long-term care insurance, or you could simply add a rider to your life insurance that will give you coverage that responds to that funds the long-term care expense.
Can I ask a question about the riders to life insurance? When someone does something like that, does that, and they need to take advantage of the long-term care insurance, does the life insurance benefit go away? Or, like if you cash out a whole life policy, Or is it that I use the long-term care and I still have a death benefit when I die? How do those riders work?
Yeah, so we always leave you with a death benefit. I believe it's 10%.
About 10,000. Typically, it's $1 for dollar. Now, understand too, with life insurance, there's the paid up addition. So your life insurance death benefit can grow as time progresses. So you may start with a fixed amount of benefit that you're going to draw from that when that event occurs. We'll say, for example, $100,000, and you have a $110,000 life insurance policy. Well, over several, over a couple decades, that could turn into $150,000 life insurance. You still only have access to $100,000 for that event that you can accelerate to fund that.
And how much does it cost to get $100,000 of coverage?
Cost is relevant to your age, health, and there's a number of different factors.
Because it seems like it's magic.
It is magic. If you think about it, I mean, it's actuarial magic in all reality, and it really is a function of health, age. Mary Jean picked up on a point where, you can certainly fund this event completely if you choose. Completely. That's also a misnomer because we really don't know how much it would inevitably going to cost. But for the most part, you could fund the entire event, or you can do like you do with other risk, right? Nobody fully insures their home or their automobile or even their own health. We have deductibles on everything else. Well, when we look at formulating these plans, we look at the individual and their circumstances. One size doesn't fit all. Or it may be where there's a multitude of options, life insurance, traditional long-term care insurance. And what it does is, and we call it stacking. So we'll typically stack these solutions on top of each other. And it allows us to come to, ultimately what we're trying to do is create a bucket of money to fund this event. It's that simple.
So you could have traditional long-term care and a life insurance policy. Yes.
Correct.
Then how do you determine who does the primary reimbursement?
Well, that's great. That's a great question. Now, the beauty of our contracts is we do, for number one, we do not coordinate. So they could be drawing from their long-term care coverage, which is a reimbursement policy, which most typically are today. So they're reimbursed dollar for dollar for the cost you incur up to whatever that daily benefit amount is. So let's say, for example, you're incurring $100 a day of cost and you have $150. Most common plan design today is about $150 a day plan. And you have $150 a day plan. Well, you're going to have $50 that's you're not going to be reimbursed because you only incurred $100 worth of cost. So that's covered. Now on the life insurance, because we don't coordinate and because the life insurance rider is actually an indemnity where once you qualify, we don't care what cost you're incurring. You're eligible for that money. So you may be drawing another $3,500 a month or another $100, we'll just say for simplicity, another $100, $3,000 a month or another $100 a day.
So I can double dip.
You could double dip, exactly. Now what you do with that $100 is up to you. Presumably, what most—
you're taking it out of the death.
Right. Correct. Presumably what you should do is set it aside so that you continue that funding mechanism as time, because we, the one thing that we don't, nobody knows, right? We never know. We have no idea when we're all going to expire. And statistically speaking, the average duration is 3 years. Well, it could be 3 for you and 10 for her, or 2 for you, and so we don't know. So it's better to have that money there.
So what's the average length, right?
The average length, believe it or not, the average length, the duration is 3.7 years for females, 2.2 for males.
From the time they start using?
From the time to trigger a benefit, okay, and to trigger a benefit, it requires a physician to indicate that you need assistance with 206 activities of daily living for at least a 90-day period. That's a triggering event. When that occurs, it's typically a 3.7-year duration for female, 2.2 for male, on average.
I've always thought of the life insurance policy with the healthcare rider as kind of like the television with a built-in DVD player, that they both are crappy. Is that wrong?
Well, love the analogy. No, they're not crappy. No, but you're giving up something, to your point, and I think that's what you were getting at. you are giving something up. Because obviously, if you're accelerating that death benefit to fund a long-term care event, well, you're not going to have a death benefit.
You'll have lesser.
You're going to have less of it. Exactly. So, when we look at an individual circumstances, we also analyze the need. Okay, so for example, let's say you have an estate planning issue. You've done very well for yourself, and we know that you're going to pay the tax man. Somebody's going to pay the tax man. Well, we're not going to design that life insurance so that you can accelerate it, because that would be foolish. Because if you accelerate that death benefit and there's no death benefit to pay the tax man, we created a problem. So what we'll do is, obviously, we're going to make sure that you have a funding mechanism, be it either just traditional, or we also have a, traditional is you can refer to it as kind of pay as you go, income based, where we have an asset based, where you can take a
traditional life insurance.
Traditional long-term care.
Okay.
And then we also have a hybrid. They call it a hybrid. It's life insurance with long-term care, and that is an asset-based approach where you are simply moving a capital from, we'll say, for example, Bank of America over to Bank of New York Life, and Bank of New York Life is leveraging where that dollar in the bank is worth $1 whether you die, whether you need care, or if you want it. By moving it over to New York Life, that dollar is worth $1.64 if you die. It's worth $3.28 if you needed care. And if you want that dollar back, you get the dollar back at any point in time. So, the beauty of what we do is that we will sit there and truly analyze an individual situation, look at what they currently have, and how does that play into it? Look at keep in mind when this event occurs, what we're ultimately looking to do from a funding perspective is to ensure the capital, right? We all work all of our lives to amass capital to do one thing in life: generate income, retire, right? I mean, pay college and other things, but ultimately generate income. When this event occurs, if we're self-funding, we're going to stress that income. We want to maintain the integrity of that capital to such a point where we're not stressing that income. Now, we're going to co-insure just like we do with all other risks, but we're going to analyze their own personal situation so we have a fairly decent idea of how much of that income is discretionary. How much of that could they actually earmark to self-fund this risk?